Auction horrors. That is what today's video is about. Now, Bond Wolf Auction are one of the biggest in the country. They do a number of lots and all of their auctions completely sell out. They have a reputation that's up here. But do you actually understand what happens at auctions? So yesterday, Bond Wolf had an auction and they sold off everything that was there, whether it was pre-auction, it was sold post-auction, or it was sold in the auction. I'm here to break down 3 deals for you guys, show you what happened, but first and foremost, let me talk about Birmingham Council. Now, Birmingham Council, as you can see from the headlines, sold £4 million worth of properties at Bond Wolf's auction. Now, let's break down the bankruptcy. Are Birmingham Council bankrupt? Yes. Does that change anything with Birmingham Council? No. It basically means that the money that they have borrowed, that they can't afford to pay back, they've declared bankruptcy, wiped it under the carpet and said, let's sell some assets so it looks like we're trying to pay some money back and it'll all blow over pretty soon. Because the council continue to go. They don't stop. And Bond Wolf, with a lucky auction, they got all of their stock to sell. So you imagine how much money Bond Wolf made from selling Birmingham Council's assets. So that was the headlines yesterday. Birmingham Council sell £4 million worth of property at auction. Did you get a bargain from Birmingham Council? I didn't. There was no bargains to be had from Birmingham Council. The properties went for the price that they should have gone for. Some went a little bit higher. Nothing was really below at all. And anything that would have been an auction was already handed to the right people before it was even announced. Because that's how the world works. So let's go straight into some of the properties that were sold at auction. So this one here, guys, number 6, Babington Road in Birmingham, B21. Now, I know this road quite well. I know this area quite well. It's literally 15 minutes from my offices where I'm standing right now. And this was a 2-bedroom detached property. It sold for £147,000. Now, there's no pictures of this property, and you had viewings where you got to go, open slot viewings to see this property. Guys, £147,000 for a 2-bedroom property in B21. Now, I was fortunate enough to see inside this property, and I had a look at it, and the amount of work that needed to be done inside there was about £40,000. The roof wasn't great, the garden's not in great shape, and it needed a full back to brick refurb. So with stamp duty, legal fees, and everything else, this is a £200,000 purchase. Now, the end value on this property, £200,000 purchase price with the refurb, stamp duty, and legal fees, and special conditions, 2-bedroom, what do you think it is in Birmingham? It's about £200,000. That's what that property is, about £200,000. You might be able to squeeze 210 depending on what level you do it to. So that right there, not a bargain. But if someone's bought it to live in and it's not been bought by a developer or an investor, well, you've just basically got the going rate. In fact, you might have paid a little bit more. So that was the first one I wanted to show you. So now we go on to the second property, guys. And the second property is number 73, Ivy House Road in Birmingham, B38, and it's sold for £155,000. The guide price was £69,000. Now, a lot of people see the guide price at £69,000 and they're like, oh my God, we've got a bargain. A guide price is what gets your attention. That's what sucks you in. That's what makes you go, oh my God, what have I got here on my hands? Well, guys, this sold for double and more of what the initial guide price was. Now, let me let you into a few secrets. Now, I'm not saying it about this house in particular. So if this is your house who sold it or you who have bought it, well, maybe you who have bought it might want to know this, but you sold it, whoever it is, this doesn't apply to you specifically, but it does apply to auctions. Now, guys, look at this house. We've got boarded up doors, boarded up windows. Inside, we don't really know what's going on. You can see it looks freshly plastered. Then it looks like it's not freshly plastered. Then it looks like what's going on with the roof falling down and everything's everywhere. Then we go into another room which looks like somebody lived in the property. Then we go into the bathroom. Then we go into another room that looks like it's been lived in. And what is going on with this property? Okay, the end value of this property is around £235,000. That's the top end value of this property. It was purchased for £155,000. It needs about £70,000 spent on it with the gardens. Maybe somebody could do it for 60. So £155,000 plus 60 adds up to about £215,000. Well, it does add up to £215,000. But then you have all your legal fees, your auction fees, your stamp duty. Does this sound like a bargain to you? This one here has some things that you probably didn't spot the first time around. Unscrupulous traders who are in auctions, they buy a property and then they relist it in another auction or in the same auction a month later and they make a markup on it. Now, some very unscrupulous traders, well, they're not unscrupulous by doing that. That's a business. But the unscrupulous ones will go into the property, smash all the windows, smash all the doors, cause more damage, because to a newbie property investor, the worst house on the street is the one that you can usually add the most value to. It's a psychological thing that traders do. They cause more damage, they break windows, they pull ceilings down, they make it look worse than it is. So they buy a property, they trash the property, and they make more money. Figure that one out, guys, because that's how the world works. Black, white, massive grey area in the middle. But if we look at this again closely, this looks like, to me, it could have potentially have been used for illegal activities, which I am releasing a video on in the next coming weeks. Grow houses. That is something that we're seeing a lot in auctions. We're seeing them everywhere across the UK. There are some deals to be had when it comes to that. So that's kind of got a little bit of a grow house feel to it with some of the things I can see on the pictures, the way that it is. But nevertheless, that was not a real bargain. Again, it looks like somebody's been had in the bag and they're seeing it for what it is. They think they can add more value. The end value is definitely not going to be there. Due diligence wasn't done correctly, but hey ho, that's what people like me are here for, to give you the correct education to make sure you don't make a mistake like that. And then next up, we have this one here, guys, which is in West Bromwich, Walsall Road, 106. It sold for £170,000 and it looks like a great property. So let's take a look into the photos of this property. Outside, you can clearly see windows, all the front needs doing. The roof looks like it could do with a really good clean. The fascia and guttering looks like it could be changed and sorted out, but up to date. And if we go through the photos, you can clearly see very old, outdated. It needs a refurb, guys. You can clearly see everything in there. It looks like we have some double radiators, which means that they could have been done on a grant or something like that. Walking around the property, complete upgrade needed from everything. Back to brick, completely back to brick this needs to go. Full rewire, full central heating, gardens need doing, new windows and doors, new kitchen, new bathroom, everything else. So this one in West Bromwich on Walsall Road has an end value of around £260,000. It was purchased for £170,000. Refurb on that again will come in at about £50,000 to £60,000. This one stacks. This one could be right. This one could have been bought by an investor. So you've got to understand that auctions, you can get bargains. But if you're going against somebody who wants to live in a property like this, you're not going to get a bargain, because they can afford to pay more than a developer or an investor, because it's a long-term project. They can move in, they can do room by room, they can pay for windows when they need them. As long as they've got a bedroom, a living room and a kitchen, people can move in and build the house around them over time, which investors and developers can't, because we have set criteria that we need to stick to, as in bridging loans, investor finance, contracts with builders and stuff like that. Whereas a residential, there are no time constraints. It is what it is. But these were 3 properties that were bought at auction, and also, like I said, £4 million worth of assets were sold by Birmingham Council. When you get into auctions, you need to start paying attention to legal packs, special conditions, hidden costs. That's the one. What are the hidden costs when it comes to auctions? Now, Bondwolf is a huge auction house, one of the biggest. They're my neighbours 2 doors down from my offices, and they sell everything. But you have to make sure, no matter what auction you go to, you have to read the legal pack and you have to view the property. Because just like car auctions, house auctions are there to sell problems. Car auctions are, you put a car in an auction, you get bidded, it's sold as seen, you take the car away, lo and behold, the car falls apart. But you know, as a trader in the car trade, you're buying a problem. So you do your due diligence to stack up for anything that could be going wrong with a vehicle of the make and model. When it comes to the house, in the house auctions, most people put them in an auction to sell them because there's a problem and they want them gone quick. 28-day turnaround, 10% paid on the hammer down, meaning if you pull out, you lose 10%. So a couple of tips. View the property. Make sure you view the property correctly. You take a builder with you if you need to. You take an architect with you if you have to. Get the right information. Make sure your solicitor reads through the legal pack correctly. You know every single hidden charge, every single covenant, every single restriction or anything that comes on that legal pack, you know it. And then the most important one, don't let your emotions take over at auction. Use this at all times. Make sure it's always about the numbers. It's a business, guys, and you have to make sure that your brain rules your heart.